What is going on, Pick Six crew, community, fam? It is that time of the year. The Senior Bowl's upon us. Our guy, wrong way, boom. Our guy Dom, boots on the ground, if you will, and time to kind of break it down and talk about what he saw today amongst some of these guys we're excited about for this draft process. Y'all know the drill. Hit the like, hit the sub, hit the share, even. Dom, you look so refreshed and so great after out there. Let's get it going. And I mean, Dom, boy, you had that New Orleans drive. What happened?
Yeah. So flew in from Austin to New Orleans, picked up a rental car, drove across the
hmm
rest of the boot, and then
hmm
hit up Mississippi and finally made it to Mobile, Alabama. But yeah, just trying to get out of New Orleans was a very interesting thing last night. So a trip that should have took about 2 hours ended up being more like three. And then, I had to stop at Walmart when I got here, get some vittles so I wouldn't spend too much dough while out here. So kind of supplement some meals with the good old ham sandwich
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
between. In between. So I can keep doing
Gotta
that.
have the vittles. Gotta have the
Yeah,
vittles.
I gotta like get back to my wife and say, hey, look at the bank account. I think I did pretty good. So she'll keep allowing me to do these things and share this information
Right,
with
right,
y'all.
right, right.
Great experiences.
No, big facts. Obviously, to lead off top here, real quick, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Stephen and Jerry's out there at the Reese's Bowl. They both had
Yeah.
some things to say.
Yep.
And whether it was Stephen with the until we compete like Brady and the Patriots and all that stuff, and the trust factor, and maybe a all in kind of statement from Jerry. But we're going to pause on that. After here, we'll have a post game space over there on Twitter. We'll talk about it on that side and what they got going over there. We really want to do this series and really start this. If y'all watched with us last year, y'all know how we kind of do already when it comes to the draft process and ranking these guys and getting into it. And I tell you, Dom, man, I'm super excited from last year where we were. Going into this thing right here. Here you are out there in Mobile, Alabama, live and in direct. I'm excited to pick your brain as we talk through the back channels today and whatnot, but just to hear some things. You got an opportunity to interview some people as well.
Yeah.
You got the pick, you got the Nagy pick, right? You got the
Yeah.
snag that, and before we came on here, obviously you were at Oxnard last year. You're a draft guy though. What's better, huh? What's better for you? Was it that Oxnard or is it where you at in day one here for the Reese Senior Bowl?
Man, it ain't even close. It was right here in Mobile for me to be able to see all of these prospects, pretty much knowing every single name on the
Mm-hmm.
roster. It was amazing. And then just to see and hear all of the conversations going on around me of other people that are just like us who rock with the draft 24/7. Guys like Mendoza, who know guys from far, East North Dakota, or whether they're Toronto or Ontario or somewhere West Africa, Mendoza is going to know him. So to be in the midst of people with those types of brilliant minds that really stay tapped into the draft, uh, I was like a kid in a candy shop. It was hard for me to keep my focus on which position group I wanted to really watch, then which
Mm-hmm.
players within that position group. So I had to just finally sit down the phone, let the camera be as it is. I had to really just tune in and focus to try to pick up on little nuances within these guys as they were doing their one-on-one reps, which is the big
Right.
deal, and especially amongst offense and defensive line. But then even when they went team, to be able to catch what was going on at all three levels of the defense and on the outside to inside on offense.
Yeah, big facts. Obviously leading up to this thing, I've been running the campaign out here already for Powers Johnson. That's it's kind of my pet cat. It's kind of the guy. The cat's out of the bag, though, as we talk about that. I mean, it was second round, and well, maybe make him a trade back candidate. You got to see him. You heard the talks around there. Is it pretty much at this point from the kid from Oregon? Is it pretty much 24 or bust? Is that where we're at now, Dom?
Before I answer that question next, so
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you how I plan my meetings with players, get out my one or two questions, because it's real hurried. You only get 10
Right.
minutes with the prospect, so you make sure you go to each one. And then there's so many media, it ends up being like 20 media persons to one prospect. So everybody's crunching in, trying to get their stuff off. Some people are asking questions that you're already going to answer, so I don't have to answer or
Right.
ask that question
Right.
yet. So I'm just going to say he was talking to me with a lot of these things, but then
Mm-hmm.
my specific questions were answered. The thing that stood out to me, and also was smart enough to shake everybody's hand. I shook
Mm.
every prospect's hand, and I wanted to feel the power. I wanted to feel the strength. Man, that
Mm-hmm.
brother almost crushed my hand.
That grip.
I went Bruh, I went in strong, like, because I was like, all right, I've shaken the hand of what's the all-time greatest running back in Minnesota Vikings history?
That would be Mr. Adrian Peterson, good sir.
Adrian
All
Peterson.
day.
You know,
Mr. All
everybody
Day.
talked about Adrian Peterson's handshake. So I knew to
Yeah.
go into that shake like, I'm giving you everything I got.
Yeah.
And that wasn't enough.
Fair.
JPJ was the same way. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. And next, he's like your height,
Mhm.
probably maybe another little inch on you. His arms, they didn't seem long on the tape, but it's
Right.
like, nah, you got enough length, you got enough size, he's got the power. And for him to answer questions the way that he answered was wise to me, where he didn't want to make anything about him. He kept deflecting about his teammates and talked
Right.
a great deal about Bo Nix. And it seemed
Mhm.
like he was out to take up for his quarterback by saying, no, he is a good processor. He can develop and do things beyond his first two reads. But then whenever I got him to talk about himself, so I was like, no, man, that's all good. But what about you? And he said,
Right.
I'm the best center in the draft.
Mm.
I'm a bet on me 10 out of 10 times. I was like,
Mm.
thank you. Can we put you in Cowboys blue?
You know what I'm saying? You know.
I don't know. Just watching him today, man, and the buzz that was in that building. If you were thinking he's going to be like, a lot of us are team trade back. Let's trade back. And then we'll still have him on the board. No, you won't. No, you won't.
This has turned to a Linderbaum situation somewhat.
Yeah. And I think, I've said all along that I would have had Linderbaum ahead of him.
Right.
I still feel that way.
Right.
But when was Linderbaum taken? At
20,
25?
25, right? 25,
Yeah,
I believe. Yeah.
25. Well, we're 24, and he's just a different build than Leonard Bond, but I think he can play in multiple systems where he's not just only put him in a gap power type scheme, or he can only be zone blocking, which, you have to be athletic. I think he can do a little bit of it all. So when you got a value like that on the board with a guy who's that solid and knowing that he only has 1 year of experience doing it, that's major. And I always tell people, because I get a lot of folks in DMs or people just asking me, well, what about moving this player to center? You think he can do it? Like TJ Bass, you think he can do it? Well, physically, can they do it? Yeah. A lot of these guys can. But the offensive center's job is so difficult. Outside of quarterback and your green dot guy on defense, whoever that is,
Right.
mostly a linebacker or a safety, your center has to be the most football intelligent guy on your team because he's calling protections and helping the quarterback call those protections. He's making sure that the offensive line knows exactly what they're doing pre-snap when they're in the huddle, but then also whenever they get up to the line of scrimmage. And then to be able to process all of that, collect that information, and you're the main guy going over to the offensive line coach whenever it's, hey, this is what we're seeing, this is what we're doing. So you got to be a good communicator, quick processor, and intelligent guy. And then all of that, you still got to get that snap off. And you got these big guys barreling right up on you. So it's a hard position to play. And for him to make that transition like he did and the ball like he did, I can only see him getting better. So for you to be on him as early as you was, for you to start your draft process and see his tape and to go, that's it. That's the guy for 24. That's who I'm targeting, pet cat type. You hit it. Like, you're absolutely right. But now I'm worried of, is he going to be more like a Bradbury type going like late teens or something?
And, you know, and part of the process too, when I was going through there and I was like, yes, for me, same scheme that we run to a certain extent, right? And we went and got an undrafted TJ Bass. How did TJ Bass perform in this scheme?
You know, quite well. They were guards at the time, the two of them.
Right. And now you take him, you see what he did at center, right? And you see how Bass went into this scheme. And I'm like, you might like a center better, right? And look, and they were flavor ice cream at times when it gets to this stuff. But I'm like, I know a guy from that program in that system, and this system works, and he was undrafted. Not what this kid's going to be, right? And no knock, look, we both thought Bass, but we were both surprised that Bass went undrafted. You know, we mocked him here. We talked about it. We thought he'd be somewhere that mid, maybe late fourth, but for sure fifth on. We thought he was going to get here.
I missed him. I missed him.
Okay.
I can't take any of that credit. Y'all hit him. I didn't.
And again, but going back to the reason why, and this is probably the reason why I should say, I just knew what they were bringing to the offense line for the new coach. I'm like, oh, well, Bass matches. You know, so that was some of that Dallas board coming in for me whenever it came to him. But the other thing, too, so I have that automatically kind of built in when it came to Powers Johnson. But then there's the other thing. When you look at the tape, whenever there's nobody over him, he's looking consistently for contact. He's, over here, yeah, I got you. Wait, over here, yeah. He's consistently always looking. And the biggest thing for me, and I think he has an edge versus the other centers in this, go watch him handle stunts and twists versus the other centers in this draft. And I'm like, oh, this is like water for him. It's not an issue. He doesn't really get confused. I'm here. Oh, yeah, I know you're coming over here. I'm here. Oh, yeah, but here you go. I got you. You know, and those were the things for me that really jumped off while I was excited about him early.
Yeah. I mean, so it's going to, for anybody that's high on him like you just guard your heart.
yeah, no doubt. Look, I got CeeDee Lamb when I wanted him, and that's it. First round goes. We'll see what happens. Fair, yeah, man. Look, I let off the show fair. We're going to run a space after this, and we'll talk about Stephen and Jerry out there, what they had to say, kind of get into that. But this series right here, man, we're all about the draft talk here, fair. That's what we're going to be about. Our guy is out there. We got an hour to rock with y'all and get to it. So again, but you got to show up to show out, right? And that's the great thing about it. I felt that way. You got to see him and everybody else and what's happened and the chatter around him and where it is for Powers Johnson for sure when it comes to that. Now,
you still are about to transition.
I was going to say, no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm about to say, just to put a bow on it, the thing that you like about him is his size, his power, his athleticism, the mentality. And whenever I look at the Dallas Cowboys issues, when I look at their issues last year on offense, after week 6, it was the run game or the lack thereof. Your left tackle really wasn't a problem. Even when injured, that still wasn't a huge issue. Your right tackle, that a lot of people are hating on and want to already see something happen there, he still wasn't even your biggest issue.
Right.
You had 3 issues from the run game. Number 1, the scheme itself did not fit that collection of players. So that's a big issue. You need to figure that out with the coaching staff. That starts with your offensive coordinator, head coach, allowing the O-line coach to really teach which scheme. And then,
Right.
then there's some technique stuff with that offensive line coach. So they got to get that coaching situation fixed with the scheme. But secondly, the number one issue is your center.
Mm-hmm.
And I have always been a defender of guys like Tyler Biadasz, who are league average players that you need on the team, that you're going to have on the team. And you nailed the pick with him as a fifth rounder. He gave you everything that he could in his 4 years. I will not hate on a Tyler
Nope.
Biadasz for what he brought to the table. And then the next thing, tight ends. We didn't have a tight end that really could just consistently block worth of you know what.
No Kittle, Pancake, and Aiden Hutchinson, none of that.
So I think if you can fix that center position and put a guy like JPJ right there, it changes the whole entire makeup of the offensive line. It changes the whole mentality of the offensive line. And I'm sitting there with a Philly content creator who almost never broke my heart to say, hey,
shout out to Joe Castro.
We probably gonna get him. I was like, oh, but y'all already got Cam Jurgens. He's like,
yeah,
we'll probably just let him stay at guard or something and then move him. I was like, oh Lord. But but a team like that understands what a center of that caliber can do. Cut off half of the field. You can cheat code by pulling him whenever you need. That kid's got it all. So yeah, right. JPJ, Cowboys fans, those who follow us, you got to know about him because he should be a legit target if he's there on the board for the Cowboys.
Yeah, and another side of that for me, when it comes to the center, right? The offensive line hasn't been the same since the Beard walked out of here. And so, in no disrespect to Tyler Biadasz, because look, Tyler Biadasz isn't a bust pick. Let's be clear, it's not a bust pick. He was injured a little year 1, year 2 starter, year 3 had a great year. Then this year regressed. It's just contracts up. Can you get better?
Right.
But for where you drafted him and what he gave you, it's completely fine. If you get that out of your 5th round pick, you can't be mad at those kind of things.
Nope.
So we'll spin the block. We'll spin the block here a little bit, and let's stick with offense for a little bit. Then we'll get over to defense. Give me another guy that you were. Let me go this way. A guy that you were high on, and he showed up and delivered. Right, JPJ obviously, felt good about. He showed and delivered. Who's that other guy that maybe was floating around 24 that maybe not now? Hey, he's probably not going to be there. Who's another guy there, Don?
Well. Y'all, I want my heart of hearts. I want an offensive tackle so bad. Y'all who have rocked with me know that I like to look at the history, see where guys have gone, see how they pan out. Therefore, it allows me to figure out, okay, where do you really need to take a position?
Mm-hmm.
Left tackle, you got to take your left tackle in the first round.
Right.
You have to. And then this draft is strong with guys who have the experience at left tackle, or you think they have the ability to move to left tackle. Well, dang it, I interviewed one of the top guys that everybody keeps mocking to the Cowboys. I also shook his hand. I felt the power in that hand. It wasn't JPJ power, but it was still power. And I'm looking up at this. He has
the power.
Jordan Morgan out of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just chilling off to the side. I think he's about to make his way off the field. And I just go over to him and I was like, hey, big dog, can I just have a few seconds of your time? He was like, sure, man, go ahead. And, I'm prefacing with having watched his tape, looking at the UCLA game, how he did a great job against, to me, the best pure edge rusher in this draft in Latu. And he kind of chuckled.
Don't be a coward, Latu.
Yeah. He kind of chuckled because he know that I know he did great in that matchup. He knows that I know by me making that statement. So then I transition to say, what does it take for a guy to play left tackle specifically? Tackle is a hard position to play.
Sure.
You're often left on an island. It's like
the
cornerback of the offensive line. So what does it take? And do you think you could also maybe go inside? Have anybody had talks with you about that? Like, what is the overall take? He said, man, I was like, well, before you answer, I'm watching you out here.
Mm-hmm.
And I see just a supreme confidence in the way you carry yourself, in the way you move out there. It's a cool and calmness to it. You don't seem hurried. He chuckled, and that opened him up. And he said, man, I've been playing left tackle my whole life. I know how to do this. And he was like, yeah, it does. It takes a lot in order to play left tackle. You have to have the proper footwork. You have to have the proper hand technique. You got to be able to refit whenever, your hands aren't placed well, or maybe the guys you are going against are just that supremely gifted where they get in on you, but you
Right.
can't panic. And so it was like, hey, thanks for, seeing that in my game. I was like, all right, well, here's the thing. Heartbreak for me, buddy, you ain't making it to my Cowboys at 24. However, can you tell me a pass rusher that you went against that you felt like was a great challenge and you're kind of licking your chops to try to get at him maybe down the road? And he said, Braylon Trice from Washington. And so just to let y'all in on my notes about him, I mean, I pretty much nailed it. Like, so my thought was, I have no concern with his power or athleticism.
Right.
He's got it. He's good against the quick guys who are just trying to come purely off the edge. He can handle that. He can jump out, get to them, meet them where they are. He can catch them if he needs to just catch them, or he can get to them. I have no problems with him out of that. He's got nice balance. He has a calmness to his approach to ward off the outside rush, and he showed some savvy hand technique and refitting against Latu. I said that. I saw the tape. However, where I got worried was the speed to power type rusher. And that was specifically Braylon Trice.
Right.
Because Trice showed some areas in that game where I was like, okay, well, he's got to work on keeping that inside shoulder like down to be able to help with his balance. He's also got to work on the little counters. He's got to work on the vision that you were talking about, that awareness of stunts.
Yeah.
Not that he's poor at it, but you always got to keep your eyes up ready for that, because in the league, you're going to get a bunch of delayed stuff and exotic stuff. However, his powerful hands, he's got a great anchor. He mirrors well. He consistently freezes defenders in their track. When he get out there and gets onto you, you're done. You're pretty much done. And then last, man, that boy can move in some zone blocking scheme. Like, he can get to from his position at left tackle, he can get all the way to the 3 technique. So a guy like him would be great value if he's available at 24. But his day went so well today, and then me knowing what I know and starting to see his name being pushed out there finally where the media is starting to catch up to him, he ain't gonna be there with JPJ.
Now the one thing that came out about it though, the 33-inch arms.
Yep. And I've compared him to Rashawn Slater this whole process, where that was a concern, the arm length, and should he move inside to guard. But everything I saw in all of his tape and all of his natural giftedness, I just felt, no, you can leave Slater out there. And a lot of times what you saw in Slater, especially like the Ohio State game, whenever they played Ohio State, and he had to go against, I think he was number 6 or number 9, big, tall Zach something. Like, you could see that guy trying to long arm him, but Slater just slid those hands right underneath. And you see him always bow it. His head is always bowed back, and you're thinking, he's getting tore up. No, he ain't, because he just sits and freezes you, and it's like Sub-Zero. Come here, like it's done. So
there's another guy too. Here's another tackle for me that I haven't seen anybody really compare to him. Arms a little bit shorter. It's that guy from Green Bay, left tackle.
Is it Bakhtiari? No, wait.
Yeah, him.
Bakhtiari?
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. I was
Yeah.
thinking right tackle. That's Zach Tom.
No. Left tackle.
Left tackle.
Bakhtiari. Yeah. Same thing. They're a little bit shorter, but everything that they understand how to do. And here's the key that you said in that, Don, because a lot of people, and I'm glad you brought it up before I brought up the arm length, and the questions that you asked him, and he said that he told you specifically, I played left tackle how long?
My whole life.
Which means those arms have been the same way. Now, we understand, when we get to the draft process and things happen and all the measures are coming in and teams it'll change their mind, but they take out the factor of he's played it his whole life, which means he's dealt with guys that longer, whatever. He understands what to do with it. You know what I mean? Grip strength, all the different things, positioning, back to the Slater and whatnot, and how to position and do things. Like they just kind of understand. Now, if it's a guy who, well, I was a guard over here and I was over there. No. I've been a left tackle my whole life. So to me, that's the kind of player where if you're a big measurable guy and you're a little bit concerned because he doesn't hit the quote unquote 33-inch arms,
right?
But you look at what he's done his entire career, then that puts to bed, to me anyways, and how I look at it when I go through the draft process.
Right. And he's just a shade under it. So
right.
It's like
32 and some change.
It's like whatever. But the last thing I'll say about him is me and my guy Big Game James, as we're watching him, I was like, James, now this gonna sound a little funny, but for an offensive lineman, you really like to see the bubble butt and all that.
Right.
But that's where the power is, they claim.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at him, he got a little back there, but his hips are kind of little narrow, and I'm like, that's Tyron Smith from the bottom down. He's Tyron Smith. Like he is not there's not a lot of body fat on that guy. So I just love the way he approaches the game, the way that he moves, his athleticism. Is he a completely, made product? Absolutely not. Nobody is. Even Tyron Smith, who we were talking about moments ago, wasn't that. But I think he's a plug-and-play guy for sure. And then the last thing, if you bring a guy like him into the system, and you got Tyler Smith, who's right there, left side guy as well, and this idea of, well, does he go out to the left tackle? How do we solve that spot? And if maybe Jordan Morgan isn't quite the guy you want out there because you are concerned about the length, just a smidge, you got two guys who can rock on that left side because I think Morgan can kick down and play the interior because of what he's putting on tape. So it's like, Dallas loves the flex and the positional stuff. Man, just putting him on that left side would be an ideal situation for the overall retooling of the offensive line on the fly.
So let me ask you this real quick, and we'll pivot. Tyler Smith is coming back. At 24, Morgan and JPJ are both there on the board. Who are you taking?
JPJ.
Okay.
JPJ. And then
now does your answer change if they don't bring Tyron back? They're both on the board. Same answer, or you pivot to Morgan?
I go to Morgan.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. That's what I said. I just want to give you
those tags are touching, and I'll probably have a different answer next week. By the end of tonight.
Sense, right? But here's the thing, though, Dom, as roster construction matters, but prior to the draft, those are the questions that will kind of help us give us the tea leaves to when we're sitting at 24, what they might do and what not, kind of moving forward. So I just kind of see you were there, you saw you had the conversations where it's at. Let's get one more offensive guy in here, if you will, and we'll kind of get over to the defense. Where do you want to go? Offensive guy that you like today.
I'm gonna just rattle off a few.
Okay.
Roman Wilson, from Michigan.
Yeah.
Fantastic day. Probably the best day of any receiver on both squads. Like he showed his abilities today.
That's because Taj Washington's out there. That's the only reason why.
Like
never mind. Selfish plug there for Washington. My bad.
Right. For a guy that you feel like is probably only a slot guy only, he showed the vertical threat today.
Gotcha.
Like I've seen the short area quickness and all of that. and then
Right.
you go and you'll see this fantastic catch.
Hey, and for those who are not familiar, you have his measurables real quick, height and anything?
Oh no, nope.
Okay, well, sorry. Didn't mean to put you on the button there. My bad.
Smaller guy.
Okay.
Let's see. I'll find that later, but he's not a big guy at all. That's why I think most people will think he's a slot guy. Probably it was like 5'10", 5'11" ish, probably in that 190 range. But he's just quick, and guys just had a tough time covering him today. He showed good tracking ability when the ball was in the air. He confidently caught it with his hands. Like, he was on display today. He had a great day. A late round running back that I felt made himself a little bit of money was the Ali kid out of Marshall.
Okay.
Running back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a play where he bounced it to the outside because it was a bunch of junk just cluttering the middle, and he had the speed to get to the outside and capture that edge. So then he showed the great patience and vision to just like make his way, matriculate through holes that were just very fine, and he got through. He had a good 3 or 4 snaps and team ball today where you're like, all right, maybe I need to go back to the tape and watch him. I know Mendoza was high on him already as a late round pickup, so I thought he did himself extremely well today. So offensive guys, they put up some nice tape. A lot of stuff was going on in the trenches, but man, some of these little bitty receivers were showing their butt. Last guy, Lad McConkey, nobody see him one
Georgia, them Bulldogs.
Nobody. It's like the little jerky movements, stop and go, manipulation, head movement, all of that stuff. It's all there. Short-handed guy made a pretty nice little catch where he was open. The ball wasn't the best placed ball. He went down and scooped it up, got it. He just continues to show you that, hey, the little white guy has a place in the league. And
Don't let the smooth taste fool you. Don't let the smooth taste fool you.
Yeah, he reminds me of the kid that came out of Clemson that went to the Raiders, and the Raiders just haven't used him.
Shipley.
No, not Shipley. Not Shipley.
No, Renfro. I'm sorry. I'm tripping. Renfro. I'm sorry.
Renfro. Like the movements. Shouts out to Lad. Got a chance to just say what's up to him and wish him well and all of that. But yeah, good day for a number of guys.
Okay, and we'll end on the offensive here. Who's some guys like, hey, look, hey, you know what? Hey, we need to see a little bit more from you. Day one's in the books. Hey, let's come back day 2. Let's see a little bit more from you. Give me a couple guys there.
Just in general, either side.
On offensively. Give me 1 or 2 offensive guys. Like
offense, Kingsley's S. Kingsley S. They put him at right tackle today. He had been playing left tackle, the BYU kid. He had played left tackle this past season in 2023. Before that, in 2022, he was a right tackle. They had a very athletic left tackle at the time, the Freeland kid. So they had him just go out and play right. But really, their plan was to put him at left tackle all along. But today at the Senior Bowl, he's playing on the right side. In the one-on-ones, he got beat multiple times. But, you know, there's no shame to lose to Latu, who's the best edge rusher in the class, because he's got a plan when he's rushing. And he knows how to use his hands and his speed and the power and all of that. But that got to him today. So I was like, okay, maybe Latu was just Latu. He that dude.
Right.
Well, then I saw the Neyland kid from Western Kentucky, who, when I watched this tape, I really wasn't high on him, but I saw people out in the media saying some good things about him. And then that kid starts to get off on him. It wasn't power that he struggled with. It was simply the outside speed, because initial 2 steps were a tick slow. And that's
going from left to right makes sense.
Right. And then that's not the Kingsley that I had seen on tape. Though.
Right.
So can he correct that? Sure, I think he can. Will he be able to do it as quick as tomorrow or at some point this week? We shall see. But I was thinking that he might sneak himself there into the first round. But if the performance doesn't improve this week, then it lets me know that there's a chance where he might be there as one of your developmental type guys in the second round.
Okay. Anybody else offensively needs a better day than they had today before we go to defense, or is that about it for you?
Who the quarterbacks? The
Mm.
quarterbacks really weren't impressive at all, and this was supposed to be.
Well, which one? Hold on. You said quarterbacks with an S.
Yeah,
Put some names on it. No, put
none
some
of them.
names on it.
No, Bo
No,
Nix
God.
didn't really stand out to me.
Okay.
Penix didn't really stand out.
What we learned about Penix, he has a very big hand.
He
That's
got
what we learned
large
today.
hands. His,
Yeah.
I always tell people when they shake my hand, like, man, you got large hands, and Penix's hands are literally my size. So I was like, yeah, that's a big hand. Yeah, the quarterbacks really didn't show much today, and so you kind
They
of want
won.
to see if they can get it going. And then the center from Wisconsin, who I didn't too much like him, but there's too many people saying he's a legit day 3 target, Bartoli or something like that. Man, he got trucked. Like the ooh moment of the day where the crowd just ooh. It was he was the victim of the ooh, where a kid got into him and in the one-on-ones, and it was just nasty. So you hope that he can get that turned around, because
we'll bounce back tomorrow.
Yeah, you play football long enough.
You got bad days.
Yeah,
somebody gets you. I remember
somebody
one time.
Get you.
Yeah, I remember one time dude got me. He got me with the forearm underneath my face mask and popped me. I was like, "Well, that's illegal." And he was talking. I said, "All right, say less." Hey, the next time we lined up, guess what I did? Put that forearm underneath his chin.
Gotcha.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You feel me?
Right.
So maybe he has the ooh moment tomorrow. Neither here nor there. All right, that's offensive for day one. Let's go to the defense. Let me start here, Dom. Hey man, who's the guy, Dom? Who's the guy defense? Like, oh, that's him. Like we see everybody playing, but you like, but this guy is different. Was there one of those guys today, or
linebacker?
Let's talk. Talk to me, Goose. Linebacker.
Linebacker. Yo. Okay, there is not a consistent consensus linebacker one in this class. There's just not. Nobody's really separated themselves. Edgerrin Cooper is probably getting the name because you feel like well-rounded. He's got the athleticism to probably play the inside or the outside. He's really been more of an outside guy. He got the 10 sacks and all of that. You want him moving forward. I question the processing, the overall just natural instincts.
Right.
But he's got the abilities. So he's starting to rise, where Trotter was the guy, and he's starting to come back a little bit because of the size and all of that. He's not the surest tackler. But Peyton Wilson, good. God.
South Kakalaki in the building.
North Carolina State. That kid.
Oh yeah, North Carolina. I'm sorry.
Hey.
Not the Tar Heels.
So
the Gamecocks.
They were smart in the way they put these rosters together. And so on defense, you have him, Cedric Gray, who's my guy. I've been on the Gray trains for 2 years now. You got them two right there by each other as the inside backers. Well, I noticed that who's the green dot guy of the two? Peyton. Who's the rah-rah guy out of the two? Peyton. Or anybody on defense? Peyton. Who's the guy that even pre-snap is still just coaching others, including coaching Gray, it seemed? Peyton. Who's the guy with great anticipation who's already seeing it and you starting to see him make those movements right at the snap and getting after it? Peyton. Who's running and sacrificing his body against interior offensive linemen? Peyton. But not giving up and taking his pursuit angles and still hauling butt, going 30, 40 yards across the field, even when a quarterback had scrambled and taken it like
all aside. Yeah.
Peyton. It was like the Peyton Wilson show. And as I'm talking to guys around me, my comment, and I've never said this before. I was like, man, that dude's got first round ability, but sadly, 5th round shoulders and knees. Like it's all about the injury history.
Sean Lee 2.0.
It's worse than Sean Lee as far as the litany of injuries he's had. But yeah, it's that same concern where you're getting a guy who's got a unclean bill of health, and so
Right.
it's unfortunate
Doing good.
because if there's any linebacker in this class where I'm just completely excited about, it's him. But I got to slot him to the fourth round because of the medical.
Red flags. Red flags. Red
What's
flags.
up, Spoon?
What's going on, Cowboy family? How we doing?
Doing good, man.
I'm on
Doing
cloud
good,
nine.
brother.
Yeah.
You know, we talked some offense. Now we on to the defense, and apparently it's the Peyton Willis show. A Peyton Wilson show.
Yeah, Peyton Wilson. He that guy. He's
Yeah.
that guy.
Showed up down there. Showed up down there in Mobile. But
Hey.
Dom said I can't do nothing past the fourth. What about a third? Cowboys third.
Yeah.
Am
Yeah.
I pulling teeth? Am I pulling teeth over here for you?
I'll if we got him in the third, I will. I'm not gonna leap with joy, but I won't feel like I felt when we got Schoonmaker, Mozzie, even Overshown,
Here's
who
the thing.
actually was looking better than what I ever thought he would.
Y'all think like I know it's early. Y'all think Peyton's gonna make it to the third round? Do you think?
It just takes one team. I don't think he will.
Me either.
He's
56.
good.
Are you good at 56? 56, you're out though, Dom.
I'm out.
Okay.
I'm
Completely
out.
fine. Yeah, completely fair.
Hey,
Completely
now
fair.
one guy who he was trying to be a wrecking ball.
Okay.
There were times where it didn't quite wreck. It was just a ball. But
Okay.
but man, he was getting after it. This kid is
Yeah.
tenacious. He just had a high motor, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him. I'm gonna try to catch him tomorrow.
Okay.
Braden Fisk.
Oh yeah. Hey.
Defensive tackle.
I Peck had a mind. FSU, well, and of course, transferred to FSU, obviously.
Yeah.
For those that haven't watched him at all, just go turn on the Louisville ACC Championship game and watch him there. If you ain't watched no tape of him, just go there and watch. You know, I like him a lot. Not obviously, I'm not a first round guy for me or anything like that. Not that's all I'm saying, but yeah, he got some tenacity to him, Dom. I'm glad you brought him up. He said trying to be a wrecking ball, sometimes just a ball, but he's trying though. Okay,
he's trying. Like he's relentless. Like
yes.
It's
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, because before I stepped out to my wife's game today, I was watching on NFL Network the Senior Bowl practice, and I saw when they put Tavondre Sweat and Fisk in the interior, and I was like, "Wow, what a freaking push!" But I know you was there up in front. How was that like? Seeing these guys get after it.
Man, in the morning at 9:30 to 11, you had one set of practices. The American side going against the national side's defense. So offense versus their defense. Then it flipped in the second period, and then you had the others come out. That early morning session, you heard some pads, doing some clacking and some helmets and all this. But then when that second group came out, which included Tavondre Sweat and Braden Fisk, you heard straight up popping. Like it was a distinct difference in the sound, whether it's them doing pad work, them doing one-on-ones, them doing the team drills, which is what you probably saw. Like you just saw it, felt it, heard it. Like the physicality in that second half was just tremendous, especially on the defensive side. Now, Nix was going to probably lead me into sharing somebody that needs to kind of step it up because day one was a little bit lackluster.
Right.
It's Tavondre Sweat to me.
Okay.
Like on them pads, like, as they were warming up, I'm talking to the other guys, and all of a sudden I hear pop, pop, pop. I had to snap and go, all right, sorry, guys, I got to catch this because it was Sweat. It was like, man, he's killing it. But then the second they got into the one-on-ones, he had to go against Oklahoma center, Rom. There was really no push, no displacing. The center off of the line I'm not always looking to see if you can just chunk somebody or get around them.
Right.
It's not all about that.
Technique, pad level, the difference you want to see.
And then he went against my guy, Bo Limmer, the center from Arkansas, just moved in to that spot this past year. I talked to his offensive line coach to get some nuggets from him just about technique and stuff. And Limmer displaced him 1 to 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. And so it was like he would walk off. Coaches were already on him, trying to coach him up. He didn't come across as a rah-rah guy. He didn't come across as a guy with a lot of big bubbly character where people look to him. He was like, I'm here. I'm doing my job. I'm going to attempt to do my job. But it's like, man, I kind of want to see him come alive. Or is that just naturally you're a laid-back guy, which is fine. So I got to see a little bit of the personality come out. And I want to see him just let loose. Don't overthink this. We know what you really are. You are a run stuffing guy that still has the ability and the movement skills to be able to help much more than that. So just unleash him. Don't overthink it. Go play your game.
10-4. So obviously you talk about Peyton, a little bit there from Sweat. Another guy today that maybe showed up. He was like, hey, I'm not really sure about, or I kind of don't, some different things, but he showed up and had a good day one.
Sweat,
defensively.
Yeah, Sweat, Fisk, but the number one guy.
Yeah.
Or not Sweat, excuse me. He's one I kind of wish, but Wilson and then Fisk. But the number one guy, Quinyon Mitchell.
Ooh, okay.
Cornerback Quinyon Mitchell. Y'all.
Cat's out the bag now. Cat's out the bag now.
Yeah, like 2 months ago, I think I did a little video on him.
Toledo.
I was like, maybe, he's a day round 2 prospect, high second round with a chance of getting into the first. Y'all, he's all the way in the first. He might be like top 20 caliber player. So smooth. Like he had a few PBUs today where it was nothing. It seemed for him to get into it. He's great in the back pedal. He flips the hips, oily hips, whatever terminology you want to use.
Right.
He's got it all. But then he's got that mentality, that moxie. Like you could see the confidence just coming out of his helmet as if it's like steam on a cold day. Like great player, seemed to have all of the mental awareness to play the position. And even if he slips and messes up on a snap, kind of that get over it, move forward, because at cornerback,
short-term memory. It's
going to happen. So it's like rinse. All right, now let me repeat what I know I need to do, which is maintain integrity with my technique and be the stud that I know I can be. So Quinyon Mitchell, to me, was probably the biggest winner of all people on both squads, no matter the position, where today it's like, if you keep that up, you're a top 20 guy.
Got it. So under the radar guy that nobody was talking about who showed up and maybe made some money today defensively, if you got one.
I would probably say Nealon.
Okay.
Western Kentucky kid.
Yeah.
He flashed a bit, like I said, against Kingsley. He got in there a couple of times because the size that he has with the length and then the overall athleticism, you kind of thinking that's a ball of clay right there. Like if you can get him in the right system, you talk about geography lottery all the time. Like if you put him in the right system with the right coaching, he might turn into a very solid defensive end for somebody. But then other than that,
I mean, if you don't have another one, that's fine. So
no. It was just so many guys. Like there was a few guys that I didn't even know. I'm like, oh, got it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch tape. But Darius Robinson, Missouri. I think he solidly put himself in the second round today. where I thought maybe third rounder. I can take the maybe off of it. Like he can play up and down the line, whether it's 3 technique, a 5 technique, or get him out wide. He just like your eyes just kept gravitating like towards him, and then even the guys around him, like he's kind of like that alpha kind of thing like that oozes from him. Solid player. Missouri's putting out some talent. Oh, a lot of people were asking me to look at Schrader, Cody Schrader, the running back. He little.
He,
little.
he little.
He
I was like,
little.
he little.
He tough.
I mean, he's not Deuce Vaughn little though.
But he's not like J.K. Dobbins, who's what, like a 5'10", 5'9", 5'10".
He's not a Blake Corum.
Yeah, he don't have the body armor with it either. It's like
Right.
you're small. So I don't know if that's what the Cowboys would be targeting, but he's definitely going to find himself on the roster.
How about James Williams?
Hold on. Eddie said, "Damn it, Dom, I need some USC intel." LOL. Do you have any USC intel real quick?
Oh yeah.
And then I got some questions, and then Spoon, I'm gonna let you fire your questions off and get them in.
Yeah, so I was looking at Rice, the receiver. Impressive build. Like you can tell he comes from a family that knows football. Like nothing seemed big to him. It seems like, all right, I also showed up to work today. He had a really, really nice rep where he caught a ball that I don't know how many people would catch it. And it looked like he caught it on the back half of the football, which that's very difficult. And he had to track it and maneuver his body to the point where it would have been a touchdown, but he just snatched it. And it's like, oh, okay, this kid got some hands. And then just his overall size is a plus. So I think he did himself well today. Nice little receiver. I can't give you where he's going to go because this receiver class is ridiculous. And how you stack them, good luck. Marshawn Lloyd, running back.
I
want him.
Oh, okay. Hold on, Dom. You say you want him. Where do you want him at, though?
I've been thinking 4th round. I might be fine with the 3rd round pick on him.
We got one of them Nazi Fandango 4th rounders we don't have.
Right. I was talking to a Jets guy and a Giants guy, and we're just chopping up, and I'm like, man, Jets guy, I wish I had your linebacking core. And he was like, well, I wish I had your offensive line, and I wish we would take a stab at getting your left tackle, who's now a free agent. I was like,
pause.
No, that's a lifer. We'll give him an incentive-laden deal just to come back if he wants to play. No, sir. But then we really started talking about running backs, and we all were like looking at Marshawn Lloyd and just realizing, like, look at this guy. He moves different than everybody. Now, he's not going to be a bell cow. You're going to need to partner him with someone, but he can be that Tony Pollard part of the partnership. Gotcha. And you're still going to need a little bit of a bigger body, I feel. But he reminds me of DeAndre Swift as far as his movement, his skills, where he's a super quick kid in space. He's going to be a headache for guys. You don't want to meet him in a hole one-on-one because it's not about him running you over. It's him just giving you a subtle little movement, and it kind of freezes you and stuns you a little bit, and then he's gone. So very good running back who's proven himself. Just like many other running backs, he's got he's got a prior ACL injury in his past, but he played all this past season. After getting that injury, did extremely well. He had a fantastic day, and he showed off his hands as well.
So, Dom, what we're saying is for the 2024 season, Deontay Foreman and Mr. Lloyd, and we're good to go.
Because you can hear Foreman take this $2 million.
Boom.
Here, 3rd round running back for cheap.
Yep.
You got And then you
Cost
still
effective.
got Malik Davis as a running
Yeah.
back 3. You got Lipke now
And
getting
Deuce
that
Vaughn.
year 2 boost.
Mhm.
I would be totally fine with that running back group.
All right. So before I segue over here to Spoon to get in here, we do this offensively. We do it defensively. I know Sweat's on that list for day 2. Who's another guy or two? Hey, day 2. Maybe kick it up a notch for you.
Cedric Gray, like,
Oh, okay.
I've been
Like, big name
high
here in Cowboys land. Big name
yeah,
here in
I've
Cowboys
been
land.
high, like again, I've been high on him in the process because I see the sideline to sideline ability. And I see a guy who's got plenty of size to be able to play the position, and you bring so much experience with you as a pure linebacker. So, and he plays the interior. So you can play him inside or outside. So we know we need something like that in Dallas.
Right.
Now, the thing about him is he's not like a chewing glass, eating nails type of a linebacker. He's not a Drake Greenlaw type.
Right.
He's bigger than Greenlaw, but he's not that kind of a hitter and like a.
He got some Jabril Cox in him.
In the middle.
Little Jabril Cox in him to a certain extent. I mean, I'm just talking about from the nails part.
He's got Leighton Vander Esch.
Okay.
Closer to Leighton from, and I think that you hope you can get the high side of that, like 2018 Leighton Vander Esch before the injuries and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
His tackling style is the same to me, where they ain't just hitting you like hard and you feel it, but they sure dang gonna wrap up, and it's like an engulfing type of a tackling.
Right.
And you ain't just, dragging him 4 or 5 yards down the field either. Like when he gets to you, you're going down.
Going down, right.
But it's not like popping, ooh and ah. Yeah, it ain't the thud you really would like to see.
It ain't Roquan.
No.
It's not that.
But what I want to see is, can he step up from a overall leadership perspective and not just, kind of go back to the background. I saw a few times where the other linebackers around him, they seem to react much quicker than he was reacting. But again, these guys are learning brand new systems, first day of practice, and it's pro stuff thrown at them from,
and let me set the table here. Like, as we're doing this content here, ladies and gentlemen, be very clear on how we handle content when it comes to the draft. We're not here to bag on anybody.
No,
that's not what the time it is. That is not the time. This guy's trash. No. You're not going to hear that terminology from us here, because these young men are trying to find their way into the league, and we understand, as Dom just said, different scheme, different things, figuring it out. Look, he just talked about the quarterbacks earlier, where they're at right now. They're not in their regular scheme. They're not with the regular people. Things are different. Hence why the question from me simply is, hey, who needs to kind of bounce back, have a better day too? Not to hit a trash day today. Just, hey, show who you are. But be very clear in our content and what we do on this YouTube channel, what we do on Twitter, or catch us in any social media streets, right? It's not about trash, bum, this. That's not what we do. We're trying to give you real analytical looks at things, what we're seeing, what we're talking about, and kind of moving forward from that standpoint.
Right.
Anybody else, Dom, as far as you give us Gray, Sweat, anybody else defensively looking forward to day 2, see where they kind of take their game, or that's kind of where you're at right now?
Yeah, that's kind of where I am now. And I haven't seen what others out there are saying quite yet about who they feel had a good day and who they feel need an opportunity to flash more. So I'm interested to see some of those respected media scouts that we all know, like the Daniel Jeremiahs, the Dane Bruglers of the world. I wonder what they were thinking. But for me, Marshawn Lloyd, the Alley kid from Marshall, running backs, were the two that jumped. You got your Roman Wilson, Ladd McConkey. They had pretty good days for guys who aren't first rounders. Christian Jones, right tackle out of Texas, had a tremendous day. He's a little of a I talked about the hips of Morgan earlier.
Morgan, yeah.
This guy's a little stiff in the hips, but his feet though can move. So it's kind of like,
Right.
all right, the top ain't really doing what the bottom's doing. It's not all in concert with each other, but
But yeah,
he's stout. No power gets to him, and being
right.
6'5", 318 with long arms like he has, he did well today. So if he just does what he did today, which is being a solid player, he definitely made himself some money because he put on some good reps today in one-on-ones and in team ball.
It's important. Spoony, floor is yours. Whatever questions you got, throw it out there. What you saw from the Reese Bowl, the whole nine. Go right ahead, good sir.
Yeah, James Williams, the safety out of Miami Hurricanes. What did you see? I mean, we all know that Kurtz is a free agent after this year, so we don't know if he's going to be back with the Cowboys. But if Dan Quinn, as we all know, we want to replace that type of size and the same type of player.
Is Dan Quinn going to be back here, Spoon?
Huh?
Is Dan Quinn going to be back here, Spoon?
Well, you know what? Things have changed as far as Mr. Benny Johnson, so it's a possibility he rolls on the top. But
yeah,
you know, I think out of the replacements, what's left over, I'd rather him come back. That's just my opinion.
Gotcha.
I'd rather him come back. So, but we all know if he comes back, the scheme is going to be, you know, the way he likes it, the big nickel. So a guy like James Williams, do you see did you see any good things from him today? Do you feel good for him to be a Cowboy? In your opinion?
Know, we did not talk
okay
before this. Did we not? The way, man, this is my first time talking to you today, Spoon. You haven't asked me about this player.
I haven't.
He was one I paid close attention to. Because when the measurements came out yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was, I mean, you got a guy who's what, 6'4", 200 and what some odd pounds, like this huge guy, and you stack him against other safeties, and he's like 99th percentile in height, 98th percentile in weight, 238 pounds or something like that. His length is like 98th percentile.
Yeah.
Like, you are a massive safety. And then when I look up, you know, his snap count, he played a lot in the box. He played most of his snaps, though, as a deep safety, like a free safety. And so it's like, all right, you really were a safety, but you did both safety and free safety things. He even played in the slot. He played even the wide cornerback, the wide corner position. So it's like they moved him all over. He had plays on the defensive line. Like, he just was all over that defense for Miami. But then when you put him with the linebacker group, he still got tremendous size. He still got height and weight. But the arms are a little bit shorter, whatever. So I'm like, I'm watching this cat because I want to know where they're going to put. They put him at linebacker. They put him at linebacker today. And kind of the same things we saw out of Marquise Bell whenever you had to take him from his safety spot and put him in his linebacker spot. You saw a guy like, I felt like a thought bubble was coming from his head every single time. And I could just read his mind, his thoughts of he's thinking, and not just reacting. And you know what happens in football if you're overthinking things.
Yep.
So you can tell it's not his natural position to play linebacker. It's something that he would have to grow and develop in. But when you see his movement, his skill, definitely talented enough. But again, it's kind of like what I was talking about playing offensive center, being a processor. Linebacker, you'll be exposed quick if you are a slow processor, even if you have all of the physical tools and giftedness. So he's a guy that, tomorrow I'm still going to be looking because they are going to let these guys do multiple things and play different positions and be with different position groups. Like I talked to Christian Haynes from UConn, the right guard for UConn. He's 6'2", almost 6'3", with long arms, though. Has always been a guard. And I asked him, shook his hand, asked him, I was like, hey, are they looking to work you in on some center? Because I just think overall size-wise, in the history of the game, modern history, you're a center. That's what the numbers show. And he was like, yeah, they told me that they want to put me in center some. I was like, okay, gotcha. And so that's just an example of, yeah, today you saw him at guard. Tomorrow you might see him play
Center.
some center, just like the safety from Miami. Well, scouts want to see it. Teams want to see it. So
Right.
Jim Nagy, his whole thing is to present these players in a way where the scouts and the 32 teams are getting what they want. And I thought somebody in the presser asked a fantastic question about, one of the questions were, should they rename the Senior Bowl because juniors are now allowed? He said, absolutely not. Kind of like next, next question. We ain't rebranding this thing.
It's a one-off. It's a one-off this year. We'll see what happens.
But then it was like about how did the junior class help bolster the Senior Bowl, and he admitted, which this is very important for us as we cover the draft. This is something that me and Ben have talked about. It's something I mentioned to y'all in the back channels, but I don't know if we've just put it out here on our YouTube channel. Nagy was talking about how their personal board for the Senior Bowl was wiped out on day 3 because of so many guys going back to college. And we, NIL has had a big reason for that because guys are getting paid now. They don't have to take that chance. You can make good money. I put it in a tweet at one point where most years you have anywhere from 100 and at the high point 140 underclassmen declare for the draft. Right. This year, only 58 declared.
Right.
And so he was just saying, like, our whole day 3 board got wiped out. And so if I were a team approaching this draft, though there's still a lot of good players, and he was like, yeah, we had to do a lot of late additions to the Senior Bowl because guys that we had offered back in November, December decided here in the last few weeks of nope, they rescinded because, they already feel comfortable in their grade. And then a lot went back to school. He said, man, I would be very aggressive. Well, my words, paraphrasing, he would be aggressive in the draft. He wouldn't worry about having day 3 picks. So then that made me think like, or he would package them and move up.
Right.
We always want to talk crap about Baby Nuts and Catboy and all this stuff. But maybe, just maybe, they anticipated that, which is why they were willing to give up the 5th round for Brandon Cooks in a trade. Why they were able to while they were willing to go and get Stephon Gilmore for a 5th round pick. Now, I can't give them too much credit, but I'm just saying maybe.
Well, I would pivot that a little bit and say because of this particular draft, those picks were from last year's draft, but those picks, when you gave up a 4th to get a Trey Lance, here you are. Whether you were willing to give up a 5th round pick to go back and get an Eric Scott, maybe make more sense. Is where I would kind of land on that because those picks, But the picks from this draft that they used last year, maybe that's where they kind of resounded and looked at it. But we don't.
I'm glad
as you said, not too much.
I'm glad you cleared that up. I was thinking of we're probably getting a 5th round comp this year and a 6th round comp. And you've already used stuff like that. Like, so go do that again. Like, you can trade comp picks and stuff.
Another one, right?
Go be willing.
One of the best things from the NFL, allowing the comp picks to be traded. Finally, one of the great things.
Great. So overall, when we're talking about being aggressive in the draft process in this offseason, and then we got the quote that came out today about Jerry them, which we'll talk about in the space.
Yeah.
Like you can see, this is shaping up to be a draft class where it's top heavy. It's still a nice class, but day 3 may not be as deep because of all the underclassmen that didn't declare. Yeah. And it's going to cause teams to do some things that they potentially haven't done.
Yeah, and let me kind of piggyback off that, Dom, because we're in a weird construct right now of this is kind of the last version of the COVID draft class. There's number 1 there. with some
Yeah.
older prospects and whatnot. And in the midst of what happened with COVID and how those things kind of moved to the point, now you have the NIL deals. So certain guys are going back because I'm gonna get this money. I'm not worried about it. And ultimately, how we have perceived this draft for the better part of 20 years is wildly different. When I don't want to call it the Wild Wild West, if you will, but it's just wildly different. Forget just the COVID and what kind of happened, how to position things. NIL, shout out to Nick Saban, said, man, I ain't recruiting these guys every year. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, the NIL is going to change that. It's going to change those things and those players staying longer, doing different things. And it will probably get other guys drafted that maybe normally wouldn't have got drafted. Then you have the XFL and the USFL combining for the UFL. There's another bag. See, to me, I think here's the trade-off. This is not about the Reese's Bowl, but a little bonus time here as well for an hour, ladies and gentlemen. I think here's a trade-off. I think the trade-off is, and we've watched the Cowboys do this. The last 2 years, went to the USFL, got you an all-pro kick returner, got you an all-pro kicker. That's what they did. There's a lot more of that coming down the pipeline with NIL deals and how this draft is going to kind of change. They're going to pull from different spots, right? Okay, yeah, I'm drafting maybe – I'm not talking about lesser talent in general. These guys aren't deserving to be drafted. What I'm just saying is the fullness of the draft, as Dom was talking about, with the underclassmen staying and not coming, that'll affect the Reese's Bowl sooner or later, neither here nor there. But when you look at it in that construct, yeah, I can go here, but I still have that UFL to pull from. And that's going to be very intriguing to see because we don't know where it's at. We're in the birth of kind of what's happening here with NIL and the UFL. We've seen the Cowboys early adopters of the third way, right, spring football. But I think we're going to see a lot more of that as we move forward. So it's just a very interesting time for us to have done draft content for a long time. We had to go through the COVID years, but now and on top of just the COVID years, here's all these other things that are kind of folding into that as we move forward. So our boards get a little different, Dom, as these things happen, which is completely fine. Hey, we want some new. That's okay.
Yeah. And I gotta shout out one more guy.
Sure, go for it.
He didn't flash today. Again, some of that's just lack of opportunity. Really.
It's just day one.
It's day one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pounding the table.
I think it is.
I'm pounding the table.
Pound it.
If he is on the board in the second round, pick 56.
Oh.
And we didn't get a receiver with the first round pick.
Please tell me it's you.
Can I guess who it is, please? Can I guess for you?
Guess.
Is it? There's a guess. Is it Luke McCaffrey?
No, sir. But he had a.
Hold on.
I'm close. Am I close enough?
No. I'm going to take a guy that's not at the Senior Bowl.
Oh yes, no, this guy is at the Senior Bowl.
Okay. Well, damn it. All right, Taj Washington. All right, go ahead, sir. I was going to the Shrine Bowl. My bad.
Yeah.
Malachi Corley.
Oh, okay.
I'm not. I don't get starstruck. Never. I've met dignitaries. I've met legislators, reps. Met a king before. I've met lots of people, celebrities that we know, sports in general. Malachi Corley, I felt like a little fanboy. I kind of know what it feels like to be a fanboy. Like, I was like, is this the feeling? Like the little flutter? Like, I was questioning myself. I saw him, I was like,
just imagine it. Let him know. Let him know where he's from. Like
wide receiver from Western Kentucky.
And
I'm just imagining, daydreaming like him and Dak just forming that relationship. And I'm imagining PD on the outside doing his thing like he did this year. And it's like you're basically bringing a slightly shorter version of AJ Brown mixed with a little bit of Deebo Samuel. Mixed with a little bit of Golden Tate.
No, I should have known this, actually. My fault. Go ahead.
And I'm just looking at this cat like, you were running back disguised as a receiver, but you got all of the giftedness and ability and tools of a receiver. What would that dynamic ball of energy look like in the offense of the Cowboys, where we continue to say they need to get more physical?
Mm.
And it's
Ten
not
four.
just about physicality in the trenches, it's about a mental toughness and actual physicality everywhere else. You need receivers to help in the run game that will block. This kid
Right.
will block. You need somebody who can break a tackle. He is literally dubbed the Yak King because
Mm.
when you look at all of the receivers that have come out in the last 15 years, he's got some of the highest yak of all of those receivers. I think he's like number 2 on the list.
Wow.
So just to see him, then he took the pads off, and I was like, man, I'm really questioning myself. Like this kid is he got it. Like that I just want to see what that would look like in
Built
a
that side.
Cowboys uniform playing with Dak,
10-4.
because that kid's amazing.
All right. Well, Spoon, you got another question for Dunn before we get out of here? We're over an hour
Yeah,
now.
real
So
quick.
go ahead.
Yeah, this is
Go
real
ahead. Go ahead,
quick.
Spoon.
So, knowing what you saw today, was there any player that before you got to the Mobile and you was like, this guy is probably a lower draft pick, but when you saw him up and close, you're like, you know what? I gotta have this dude on the Dallas Cowboys. I don't care if they get him in a round earlier than what you have him in. Is there any player that kind of got your eye in that?
Hmm. Uh, outside of some of the guys that I've already listed, um, hmm,
Circle back tomorrow after day
you
2.
know,
We can pin
as
it. We
high
can
as
pin
I
it.
as high as I was on him, he didn't practice. But because he's coming back from an injury, the West Virginia center, Zach Frazier,
Yeah, Frazier.
Okay.
Right.
like seeing him and seeing him even do the little bit of practicing that he did. Again, he's not doing all the live stuff because he's coming back from his own injury, but he's already looking impressive. Like I know, like he's going to be ready for OTAs. He'll be ready for camp. He's going to be ready for the season. Without a doubt, I feel that there's no way he's moving like he's moving, and he's working with Big Duke. So we already know when you go to Duke, you step it up a notch. He got
The
18
pipeline.
women working with him in his class.
Right.
He's a little short guy, fire hydrant of a type guy, but if we went back to the zone blocking scheme, the outside zone blocking scheme, and you dropped him into that system and he is there at pick 56, I'd be totally fine with taking Zach Frazier. Initially, I was thinking maybe day 3, but it made me go back to reevaluate my notes and what I remember seeing out of his game. He's a try hard guy. He's not just, consistently whipping guys, but you see the wrestling background with the leverage,
Right.
knowing how to manipulate guys with his body. And he's got definitely the athleticism to be able to get and go. That's why I think he would do extremely well in his own blocking scheme. So, yeah, Zach Frazier, offensive center from West Virginia, would be one of those guys.
10-4. 10-4. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll put a pin in it at the 1 hour and 18-minute mark. Our guy Dom's out there. Obviously, we have lots to talk about all week, each and every day during the Reese's Bowl. Dom, I think you're pretty good with this. If not, let me know. 5 o'clock. We're going to be here every day. 5 o'clock is where we're going to be at. 5 o'clock throughout this process. Other cons will be coming on top of that for sure. But at 5 o'clock, we'll do each and every day recap, and we'll go over there to Twitter and the spaces. So, good day 1. Good to see some check marks, right? Also, hey, so guys, hey, let's see day 2. See where you go through there. Let me, Spoony. Who are you looking for day 2? Like you kind of comb through everything you threw up in here. Day 2. Who's the number 1 guy you want to see day 2?
I want to see Sweat, man. I really want to see
more Sweat.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
more Sweat and to get better and stuff like that.
All right, Dom, you got boots on the ground. Day 2. Who's the guy you want to see? You're most anticipating to see tomorrow.
I'm looking to see a little bit more out of Javon Baker,
Okay.
receiver from University of
You see,
Central
Central Florida.
Florida.
Yeah.
I told y'all about the Victor Cruz salsa. Kind of wish he would adopt that
Yeah.
to the body type. But his comp for me is a guy who was a rookie who did really well this past season with the Green Bay Packers. It was a Mendoza guy from Virginia, a college that I really don't like to go to watch, guys. But when I watched Dontavian Wicks when Mendoza last year, I was kind of like, because he's not this electric mover. I was into looking for that type. But Wicks showed his value this year. And when I see Javon Baker, he reminds me a lot of him. Body size, body type, same. Their athletic scores are probably going to be very similar. So I'm looking to see what Javon Baker can do tomorrow.
Sam 4, you know what it is for me. I want to see more of JPJ. I don't care. Y'all be safe. Peace.